So we're here at the Springfield Farmers Market, and we've got our Writers Guild booth set up, and we're here today with Candy Simonson. Candy, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
That's very good.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So you are an author, and you have a lot of books out, right? You have a lot of books published.
I have 6 novels and 6 nonfiction books.
And is there a specific genre that all of them are in, or are they spread out over different genres?
There are several different genres, but then they all fit into inspiration.
Okay.
So they're all family stories, good inspirational stories that any family can read. The nonfiction books are more of a how-to do things. For instance, everyone has a story.
Okay.
So everybody has a story they can tell. This is a workbook that tells you how to do that, a little bit at a time. So
the subtitle or tagline or whatever that, whichever
the
that is,
yes.
The tagline, a step-by-step workbook to turn your memories into creative nonfiction. Mm-hmm. So this is somebody's going to walk through and it's going to tell them
one memory at a time how to do that. And if you get all your memories together at a time, you can turn them into a book.
And that's what this is?
And that was my first book, was a memory of my father, my grandfather, my husband, my son, but it's all put together into one character.
Okay.
And he has all the adventures in this book.
Gotcha.
Tells the story of 7 children that were abandoned by their father. They were told to sit on a fence, wait till he got back. He never came back. So then they had to fend for themselves. So
the story isn't they sat on the fence forever.
Not
and it's
forever.
Just a story of them learning to balance.
They had
on
to separate to survive. And so it tells the story of the kids as they had to separate to survive. And it turned into a series.
Okay.
Of them.
See, I didn't even know this. I've looked at some of your books and I didn't even know all of this about this series.
The series. So this takes place with the one child growing up from age 10 to adult. So it's a coming-of-age book, but it also is part romance, it's part adventure, it's part drama, as he has to think about, do I go back to look for my brothers and sisters, because he has no idea where they are.
Yeah.
Second book, he thinks he does go back, and he finds in the barn, it looks like his father's been killed. He thinks his oldest brother did it. So now it's a mystery, and he's out to prove that his oldest brother did not do that heinous act. And so it's a mystery, and he does find one of his sisters here. The third book picks up on the oldest brother, who thinks he hit his dad too hard. He killed him. He ran off to the war. Now he's in World War II. He's on the Battle of Midway, and the Midway War, rather, and he is on a sinking ship. He's making a deal with God, saying, if you get me off the ship, I'll go back and I'll find my brothers and sisters. So in the end, they all come back together.
Okay. And this is, you put the memories together and then you turned it into, it's a historical fiction?
It's historical fiction, but it's more just a family story. Yes, yeah. And it is historical fiction because
the characters are made up characters.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Gotcha. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go back and be like, I'm going to study George Washington or Benjamin Franklin, or, and try to write a story about them in your own past, in your own family history.
It can be
there are stories that are waiting to be told. There are a lot of stories
in your families that want to be told.
Yeah.
And you don't always have to have permission, because you can make up parts.
Yeah.
It's fiction.
Well, plus, if you go back far enough, you're like, well,
exactly.
This, whatever the third that lived in the 14th century that I found some stuff about him, like, I don't think he's going to mind if I write a book about him.
Correct. Yes.
So, and then your other book, so you have this series, and then your other books, they're all kind of that inspirational perspective.
I found that all my books deal with children.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that until after I had 6 written. But they all deal with children, either coming of age or as a teenager struggling with different things of rebellion or trying to find their way
Yeah.
or be accepted or finding love. They all deal with children in some respect. That's what Runaway does. It deals with a young girl that is 12, turning 13. We don't know if she's abandoned, if she's a runaway, or if she's being trafficked, and she's not talking.
Okay.
So-
But so they all tend to deal with children, but they're not all necessarily children's stories. Like,
Correct. They're not children's stories. They are adult fiction,
okay,
or young adult.
yeah. I mean, there's nothing in them that would be crass or unsuitable for
No.
children, but the concepts and the stories aren't something that children are going to be like, I love reading about this kind of thing.
That's why they fall into family fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And so, how did you get into writing? And writing, is there something that directed you into this specific genre? And was it early on in your writing path, or did you start writing other stuff and just find your way here?
I think I found my way here. I've always written. I've written nonfiction since my early years. Was published. I have probably over 800 articles published in different magazines.
Okay.
But it wasn't until I wanted to make a legacy for my grandkids that I
Yeah.
started writing fiction. And so that's how I got into that. Didn't think I could, but anybody can, because you all have a story.
Yeah. Is there a particular one that jumped out that you're like, that really pushed that on you, that I want to make a legacy? This is the story that I want to begin to tell that legacy to pass on to my children and
The
grandchildren.
story I told you, with the 7 children being abandoned by their father, was my husband's grandfather.
Okay.
And he was one of 7 children abandoned by their father. The real story is that the neighbors came and picked him up
Yeah.
and farmed him out. In my book, they have to find their own way. But I
Okay.
thought, that is the beginning of my story. Now I know where to go.
Gotcha. And was that?
So,
But was this wasn't the first book you've written? Because you've written articles. Was that one the first leap
That was the-
into a book
yes.
completely?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my first book. That was in 2015.
And you've written 12 books since then.
Yes. Yes.
Jared. So Jared doesn't have a mic today, so you can't hear him, but we've got to get on the ball.
The second book just kind of wrote itself, and so did the third, because now I had the family and they wrote themselves, basically.
That's what I've got to figure out.
Yeah.
How to let the book just write itself while I'm at work. Then,
So I also want to say to everybody, come to Springfield Writers Guild.
yes, because
Rub shoulders with other writers.
So you're the president of the Writers Guild,
Yes.
and you've been in the Writers Guild for how long?
Since 2009.
Okay.
So however long that is.
So tell us a little bit about the Writers Guild. What is it? Who should join it? What's it about?
I first got into the Writers Guild. I found it online, actually, on the website. And since it was started in 1943, it's established. I thought this might be a good place to start because they know what they're doing, right? They have a lot of members. And at the time, they had a very young president. So I thought, well, that's good. I came. There's men, there's women, there's all ages. Our youngest is 18, our oldest is probably in their 90s. So all different genres are written.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good group because we can rub shoulders with each other. We can just find out different tips and hints for writing. We have a special speaker every month, 4th Saturday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
We usually meet at the Springfield Library Center.
Yeah.
This month,
Sometimes we have to bounce around a little bit if
we're
we get
meeting
booted
at the,
from our
Yes.
reservation.
Schweitzer Brentwood is where we're meeting this month. And our speaker is going to talk about publishing from the big 5 down to do it yourself. What's good, what's not, what are the pitfalls. There's always something to learn, even if you're a seasoned writer. We have people that have multiple books and are doing very well with them, with a series. Others that are just starting out. So there's room for everybody, and we can all learn from each other. So
Yeah, that's Jared and I have been part of the guild for just a couple years now, and we've had authors come on the podcast. That we had Susan Keene just last week on the podcast. We had so Liz Verity comes on. She's a member of the Writers Guild, and she comes on regular intervals, teaches us, learns from us, and it's Lynn Combs. My brain had to catch up with my mouth had to catch up with my brain. So Lynn Combs has been on. Before Duncan the Dragon came out, she came out on the show, and the week it was coming out, we introduced it, and all those connections that we've made have all been through the Writers Guild. So we want to have more and more writers come on and tell their story and share what they do and whatnot. But it's a great way to make connections. There's, what is there, 100?
there's over 140 members now from all over the state. It just amazes me. As far as Joplin, as far as Ava, almost to Fort Leonard Wood, one from St. Louis. We have people from one that's even from California. Of course, she doesn't come, but she is a member because she used to be a member.
She's there in spirit every month.
Yes.
So where can people find information about the Writers Guild?
Okay.
You found them online. Where can other people go?
I found them online. So go to springfieldwritersguild.org and you will find us. Our website is very extensive as far as telling what the meetings are going to be, all the different things like farmers market, what we're doing today, and different events that we're going to be having. You'll find our history there. You'll find the books that we've written. swggoodreads.com.org there's a link there to all the books that the people have written. There's a number of things that are on there that are good for writers, resources and everything.
And as far as you, if people want to find Candy Simonson and find your books, how can people find you?
You go to my website, casimonson.com.
Okay, just C.A. Simonson.
Simonson.
Okay, there you go. Go find Candy. Go find her books. She has a lot of books out there. Fiction, nonfiction.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything that you can find and sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks for coming and visiting with us.
Thanks
Candy,
for
we'll let
having
you get
me
back,
on.
and hopefully some people will here at the market today will come and find your books.
We got a lot of people here. Thank you.
Thank you. So we just had a nice little visit with Candy, and now we are joined by Tess Lee. Welcome. How are you?
I'm great.
How are you liking the farmers market so far?
I love it. I've always loved a farmer's market.
Yeah, we're kind of sitting right in the sun. the sun's coming through. We're not quite in the right shady spot, but it's a pretty nice day today to have the farmer's market.
The wind is nice. So.
Yeah, a little bit of a breeze. It's not too hot. It's not too cold.
Yep.
In the Miss Congeniality, did you ever watch that movie?
Oh, I love that movie.
When he asked the gal the questions, like, what's the perfect date? I would say April 29th. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. You just need a light jacket.
Yeah, that is perfect. Yes, she's right.
So that's us. That's us today.
Okay.
So Tess, you write, well, I don't know the genre that you write. What do you write?
Well,
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, back in 2007, my grandson was 18 months old at the time, and he was the one left behind because his older two sisters went to school.
Okay.
And they got on a big yellow bus, and he wanted to go. And so my daughter called and told me the story. And so I sit down and wrote his story.
Okay.
And the drawings in here were made by my niece. She's in her mid-40s now, but at the time she was just starting out drawing. And so she drew the sketches for me. And then I found a publisher and I put it on a book and published it myself. So it's about him getting up, watching the girls get ready for school. He wants to go. Well, Mom says, no, you can't go. Many illustrations are him looking out the window of the front door, wondering when that big yellow bus is coming back.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the book in a nutshell.
Okay.
And it's called The One Left Behind, but it is not out anymore.
Okay.
But I'm going to do a 20th anniversary next year.
Okay.
And redo the book in color pictures instead of a coloring book type setting.
Gotcha. So, I mean, for anybody listening, you won't be able to see it, but is it okay if I
Yeah.
show? So you can see it's got the little sketches. Like it could be, you've got the little sketchbooks. It could be a coloring book.
Mm-hmm.
But it tells the story of Michael.
Mm-hmm. It's on the back. It's just,
Michael
Yeah.
checking to see when the bus is coming
When
home.
that
So
big yellow bus is coming back.
That's definitely kids' book.
Yes.
And maybe even kids' story / coloring book.
Right. Correct. So,
Okay.
and then I started, right after that, I started writing Jesse's New Beginning.
And that's the one you were trying to get that one ready before today,
Yes,
right?
I was.
And just, hey, Jared and I, we know all about stuff not being ready. We're still editing something that was supposed to be published months ago.
Exactly. So anyway, so I started that one, and that one's about a young woman. Her husband dies suddenly, and she's left penniless with a 4-year-old child to raise.
Okay.
She has a job, but now all of a sudden she gets, she inherits from her uncle up in Wyoming a ranch.
Okay.
And so she goes up there to see what that's all about and see if it could be part of her new beginning, and she thinks she found love, but then the ranch foreman says no,
Yeah.
And so that's how it goes about her learning how to do ranch life and things of that nature.
Okay.
So
What's the name of that one again?
it's called Jesse's New Beginning.
Okay. And you said, and this one's a romance?
It's fictional romance. Uh-huh.
Is it like a comedy type romance? Is it more of a serious romance?
Both.
A little bit of both?
Yeah. This little girl.
It's not is it a Harlequin type?
No, it's not Harlequin. Because it takes her through ranch life. She learns how to take care of the ranch, and she kind of falls in love with this man, this foreman. But yet it's about her and the little girl on how they can survive somewhere else.
Okay.
That place they never heard of, place they've never known.
Okay.
So
it's got some roots in, like, this would be the real life of somebody.
Yes.
That they're searching for a new life. She's
starting over,
searching for a new beginning, a new life, and new love.
Right.
Finds its way in.
Correct.
Okay.
So good job. Thanks.
Hey, bam! Look at that. It's like I'm a writer or something.
But yes, and I, like I said, I'm just beginning. I just finished it this week.
Yeah.
And
I could hear in your voice
Yeah, I know. I would love to have had it out, but it looks like I could possibly have it out by October 1st.
Okay.
So that's my goal right now, is to have it out by October 1st.
Nice.
So.
When you do put it out, do you have a website? Do you have an online presence or anything that people can find you?
Yes, I have that right there.
Okay. So just your...
Yeah, it's
Your
Tesley.
email?
It's tesley.author@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when that comes out, will it be out on Amazon, or will it be out through
I don't know yet.
Don't know yet?
I'm going to independently publish.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I don't know if it'll be on Amazon or not. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet.
Exploring all the options at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we heard the story about how you wrote The One Left Behind.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to write this story about Tess's new beginning, or Jesse's new beginning?
Well, it started out as a radio contest. KTT, can I say that?
Yeah.
KTTS put out a radio contest back in 2007, and all you had to do was call in and tell them a little bit about something of a hunk of a man, and that's all you had to do. So I wrote this one-page radio thing. I called in, he heard it, and so the next thing I know, I'm getting a call and saying that I have won the contest.
Because of your description
Yes.
of a hunk of a man.
Yes, and it's in the book. So
So
that
you
part-
already have award-winning hunk of a man in your book.
Yes, I do. But I received a weekend to Eureka Springs.
Nice.
So it was really nice, you know, to win something
Yeah.
for your, and then I thought, why can't I write a book about this? And that's where it all started.
Okay. So it all started with a hunk of a man.
Pretty much.
And from there, you got Jess's New Beginning.
I did. I
Or
did.
Jesse's New Beginning.
Jesse's New Beginning.
Going to Wyoming to find the hunk of a man.
Yes. Well, she didn't go up there to find him,
Yeah.
but she did find him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really great getting those thoughts down on paper
Yeah.
and looking at them and it showing and watching it bloom into a book
Yeah.
that you're proud of. So,
Yeah, that's something that there's a very small percentage of the population that a lot of people say they want to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
And then of that, a very small percentage ever actually start. And a very small percentage of that ever finish.
correct.
So being able to sit down and say, I wrote this, you know, and have it begin from a radio station entry to an idea to, wait a minute, I can turn this into something that I want to share with the world. Like, it's a pretty big...
Yeah, I'm just sorry it took me this long to do it, but the Writers Guild has really helped a lot.
Yeah.
The conferences I've went to, I've been with the Writers Guild now for 2 years, and the 2 conferences I've been to have been just inspiring, kind of like a cattle prod, you know?
Yeah.
Keep going, keep going. And so that's what I've been doing. So,
Yeah.
so
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So, Tess Lee, tesslee.author@gmail is how people can reach you.
Yes.
And then we'll see in the future when the book comes out, or
Okay.
like,
All right.
and point people your direction.
Maybe we can do another one of
Yeah.
these after the book
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
out.
When it's ready to release, we'll be like, this week,
There you go.
Tess Lee, go find her book.
All right.
So-
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks for chatting with us today,
Uh-huh.
and we'll let you get back to talking to people at the market.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and we're back at the market again. We're still at the market. Got David Reed, and David, so everybody here today, we've got authors from the Writers Guild. If you haven't picked up on that theme, and David, you write a particular type of mystery thriller, right?
Exactly. I'm a retired criminal investigator, retired Army civilian. So after retirement, I started looking around, what am I going to do? And
Yeah.
so my wife encouraged me. I've always been a writer, wrote books 30 years ago. And so what I've done is I've taken some of the cases that I actually worked on, fictionalized a couple of them, and put them into these novels, which seem to be doing pretty well. I
Yeah.
have a lot of fun writing them. I get a lot of interaction with my readers. But this first book, Cold, Dark, and Silent, is about a missing woman. And she disappeared. We had her phone, her purse, all of her personal belongings. It's as if she disappeared off the face of the earth.
And you say we because this was
This was a criminal
something-
investigation.
A criminal
case, yeah.
investigation. It's based on a criminal investigation that you were actually involved in.
Yes, sir. And it was over 2 to 2.5 years later before we actually found her body. But even then, now we have a 2-year-old cold case. Now it's a fresh case.
Yeah.
We were
By
able
that
to
time, like,
identify the body right away. But as far as what happened, how she died,
Yeah, that's
became much more involved than maybe it's the husband who killed her, or maybe it's some friends or something like that, or that she was the victim of a crime. We investigated all of those angles, and it was actually much bigger and much darker than we anticipated.
Now, how closely do the events of the story follow the events of your of the pathway that the investigation led you down?
Well, I actually take two cases and kind of blend together.
Okay.
But that's the missing woman is what kicks off the investigation.
Now,
I would say I definitely fictionalized it because there are still entities and people that are still alive out there.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a work of fiction based off true story.
now, timeline-wise, like forensically, with technology and everything, when does the story take place versus when you were actually investigating? Because let's say,
Right, yeah, that's
if
a
your
big
story
difference.
was
Yeah.
1989, the
Right,
forensics
right.
and everything, a 2.5-year-old case in 1989, you're going to have a big difference forensically
Yeah.
than what you have today.
In the book, this takes place fairly contemporary. The book actually starts just at the end of COVID.
Okay.
So a lot of the organizations and things that were shut down are just now opening back up. In real life, the case that I sort of based this off of was in the late 80s.
Okay.
So there are things, the speed of getting DNA back,
Yeah.
the technology with computers, information management, all of that is completely different now than it was in the late 80s.
Having a digital footprint
Exactly.
essentially didn't exist.
Right.
Except for within certain spheres
Oh, sure.
in the 1980s.
We didn't use the internet. We barely used. The computers we used were largely word processors back then,
Yeah.
or simple databases.
You could take the 5.5 floppies and use them to fan your face. It's a little. We still got the sun coming in
That's
today.
about it. Yeah, right. But
So-
at the end of this book, at the conclusion of Cold and Dark, then the second book picks up 6 hours later. This is a completely different case. So
But-
I've linked them to keep the characters the same. So a reader who reads the first book is going to enjoy the second book because they're familiar with the characters and the
Now-
locations.
Now, is this this is the depending on the author, like
Right.
you write with the same characters, the same investigators that roll from Cold, Dark, and Silent into the Blockade Runners.
Exactly.
If somebody picked up the Blockade Runners,
No, it's a standalone book.
it's completely standalone.
Sure.
So
But-
you get reintroduced, but you're
yes.
not.
Yes.
Do you? This is one, and to each his own. But
Right.
I've mentioned on our, with Jared and I have had discussions about rehashing.
Sure. I mean, it gets if
You got to have some reintroduction.
you have to reintroduce the characters. I do take a few. I do take a little bit of license that you've read the first book with the second book.
Okay.
But I've had people who've read this book alone and liked it because they said, you give just enough an introduction to the characters.
Yeah.
I would say I do a deeper walk into my character development in this book
Yeah.
than this, but
Hey,
live podcast.
we
I
are
love that.
at the farmer's market. We just have to remember that. This is reality.
That's okay. But, this book picks up 6 hours after the end of Cold, Dark, and Silent. And that's reminiscent of an actual case. Now, this was also an actual case. I was second up on this case. I wasn't the lead investigator, but I was involved. And it follows the pattern where we were breaking beers and we were going, great. I hadn't been out of my shoes in like 30 hours
Yeah.
on this missing woman case and everything. And we were like having beers going, this is good. All right, well, let's get back to, Monday morning, we'll get back after it. And we got a call, you've got another body.
Yeah.
And it was, in that case, this follows the real life pattern of 6 hours after the conclusion of one homicide, I had another one. And this was a body that washed up in a lake and we had no ID, was dressed in a nice suit. People in nice suits don't just come floating up in lakes.
Didn't have cement shoes.
No, it wasn't anything like that. But, he'd been shot and had been in the water for a couple of weeks. And the hardest thing for me to reconcile in my part of the investigation was how was this guy floating around on this lake where there were boaters and everything, and nobody saw him. Nobody hit the body, nothing.
Yeah.
But he wound up where we figured out he went into the water was like 9 miles away from where we actually found him,
Yeah.
or where he was actually found.
Floating suit shop.
In a suit.
Yeah.
And, he'd been in the water at least 2 weeks. So there were some forensic challenges there, but by this time we knew how to handle them. And so the question here, and this book actually takes place over a weekend, which accurately reflects the amount of time we had to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
In the real world case. In the fictional case, it follows that same timeline, a long weekend from start to finish. And if, based off my readers' reviews and conversations I have with people, this is a deep character dive where you learn a lot of background about people, and it's more of a procedural.
Yeah, the cold, dark silent.
The Cold, Dark Silent is a little more of the procedural. The Blockade Runners is a fast-paced action. I've had people tell me they read it in 5 hours.
Yeah.
They couldn't put it
just
down.
keeps-
So that's a bit. I
just
just had
keeps
a
you
lady
moving.
walk up to me just now here at the farmer's market and said she just finished it and read it in a week. And
She came back to buy Cold, Dark, and Silent.
actually, she's already bought both. She bought
Okay.
them at between the pages, but she just walked up to me and said, I just got done with Blockade Runners last night. And she said, I could have read it in a couple of days. So that's a high compliment to me that apparently it's very fast paced. So
Yeah. Very good.
I'm
That's
enjoying
nice.
it.
And
The third book in the series I hope to have out in late September.
so, is there anything in particular that made you decide, other than just life experiences, like what was it that you said, I've had these experiences, I've done these things, I'm going to turn them into books.
Well, one,
people read.
retirement.
Yeah.
Retirement.
Opens up a little bit of time,
It opens up
potentially.
the time, and I've always been a writer. I've written for better part of 30, 35 years. I did a lot of writing for DOD. I wrote when I was a cop, a lot of analysis, a lot of case files and stuff like that. But I've always been a writer. I've always enjoyed writing fiction, and my dad was an editor. We used to send him Christmas cards, and he'd send them back red inked, edited. So,
Yeah.
but
I was waiting for you to start talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop and be like, my father was a cop, my mother was a cop's wife,
yeah.
my dad was a cop, my grandfather was a cop.
My grandfather was a forestry service agent, but Dad was a newspaper editor, and then he worked for a university, but he was an editor his whole life. When we put his ashes away after he passed, we put a red pen in there with him. So I've been edited,
Yeah.
That's. But I enjoy the writing. It's kind of my default. If I don't have an active project, I'm writing scenes or character sketches or something like that. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I hope that enjoyment transfers into the books. That people, when they read the books, not only do they enjoy the story, but they have a sense that I've enjoyed writing it, and I really love talking to people who've read the books and to hear their thoughts.
That reflects in conversations that you have with people who come up at the farmer's market.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just like a never-ending stream of people coming through and talking to you about the book. So
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy them. They are for sale at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, and all better book sellers everywhere. Or you can come here to the farmer's market,
yeah.
buy it from me, and I'll sign it for you.
Yep, and we'll have the farmers market the Writers Guild will be at the farmers market. We're here the third Saturday of every month through the season, so we'll be here through the end of October. So, if anybody wants to come find you, they can come find you here.
I'm around. I live here in the area, so I'm easy to be found.
And then from an online presence, is there somewhere people can go to find you online?
I do have a Facebook page. It's David C. Reed Writer page. And also, of course, at my author profile on Amazon.com.
Okay.
David C. Reed.
Yeah. And you have another project. There's a third one that's in the works right now. Is that correct?
And like I said, I hope it'll be out. It should be out mid-September.
Okay. And is it a third one in this series?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Same characters. It's a continuation of the story that starts here, and it's going to end up right there with the third book.
Any sneak preview you want to give us, or do you want to hold off?
It's a little dark. It's another fast pace. The protagonist in my books is a guy named Ash, and he's put to the real test in this third book. You know, we meet him here where he's just retired, and you know, he's just now coming out of COVID, so he's coming back. He's single. He's coming back out into the world. He's asked by a sheriff who's newly elected, "Can you help me with a case that the old sheriff passed on to me? It's a 2 or 3 year old missing woman case." And he says, "Okay, I'll give you a hand," but he becomes embroiled in it. That takes him directly into the blockade runners, where he realizes that it's an even bigger thing than just a missing woman. It's a very big scandal that's going on. In the third book, he's hunting the man who killed the main character here in the blockade runners, and he's still after him.
Now, is that going to cap out a trilogy, or do you expect more?
I think as far as this string, the trilogy will be capped out, but I'm going to keep writing these characters because the main comment that I get from my reviews online and also just personal conversations is, I really like the characters. And they usually pick one character that they're just in love with. I really like Stevie. I like Ash. I like Pat. I had one lady come up to me and said, the Danny Breslin character intrigues me.
Yeah.
You know, even though he's more of a background character. So I want to keep writing these characters. But yeah, the third book will definitely cap out this kind of storyline. And then I'll just write one-off stories with that, or maybe start another trilogy. It's up to the readers.
Yeah.
You know, what is it that they're interested in.
Do you find like that it's also up to the characters?
Yeah,
Where,
you know,
where are they going to go?
That is true. And I don't know if you know this from your writing, but I kind of outline a couple of chapters ahead sometimes, and I definitely know how it's going to end. But a lot of times when I'm writing, it just makes a left turn, and I'm like, wait a minute, who's typing here?
Yeah.
You know, is it me or is it these characters? And
different meaning to the term ghost writing.
yeah, right. When you write character-driven stories, your characters do kind of take a walk sometimes, and you're like, wait a minute, I like this direction, so I keep going with it.
Yeah.
And then I have to stop and figure out, all right, there have been times I have to go back and rewrite chapter 2 because chapter 5, I've introduced something that I have to go back and make sure is right, so for continuity purposes. But
Yeah. We we don't have to deal with continuity ever.
it is a fictional universe, so continuity is one thing. I did have one fan that read Cold and Dark, and she wanted to meet with me, and she had 17 pages of notes. And she said, so what year does this book take place? And I said, well, it's kind of at the end of COVID, so around 2020, early 21. She goes, no, it has to be either 2016 or 2024. I said, why? She said, because in here you mentioned the 15th is a Friday in April, and that only occurred on the, and I'm like, holy cow, it's fiction.
You're like, no.
But you know what? I took her notes, because if she noticed it, someone else would be like that, right? So I took her notes, and I made sure and sort of, made some corrections, but yeah.
Hey, that's we were talking about Peter Jackson did Titanic.
Right.
And when they filmed Titanic, like they tried to be accurate.
James Cameron.
Or James Cameron, yeah. When they did
now, it would have been cool if Peter Jackson had
James
done
Cameron.
it. There would have been elves and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So they did Titanic,
Right.
and they tried to be very accurate. And Neil deGrasse Tyson pointed out that, well, there's a problem. The stars in the sky, the constellations in the sky behind Titanic at night, it was the wrong time of year. And so James Cameron was like, well, hey, he was like rubbing his face with money, like, well, why don't you tell me about that detail while I'm rolling in billions?
The thing that I get from Titanic is Rose is a horrible person. Yeah. Not only was there room on the door, but she had this multi-million-dollar diamond.
Forever.
Her fiance killed himself in financial ruin, and it was his property, and she had it in her pocket. And then she had all this big, wonderful life the whole stinking time she had this diamond. And then what does she do? This guy flies her out to the boat to help find it, and she's telling him the story. And instead of saying, oh, and here it is, she drops it over the side.
Yeah. like,
Pow!
it's like, there's no room on this boat. There's not enough room on this
On
boat
this door.
for me.
Yeah, there's not enough room on
And this lock and this brooch or necklace.
There's
I
only
guess I better throw it off too.
Yeah, there's only enough room for me and my multi-million-dollar diamond on this.
But in the re-release, or in like James Cameron, they actually went back and changed the sky to make the sky accurate.
I did take
to
her
the time.
notes, and in some cases I said, it doesn't make a difference. It does not make a difference. And I do have people, and this is fun for me because I very clearly describe the locations.
Yeah.
There's a river, a lake, a couple of towns, a region, the weather, all of this stuff I describe, as background, the location. And I've had people come up and said, you're talking about Duluth, Minnesota. No. And then someone else comes up to me and says, you're talking about this town I grew up with in Georgia. They all look at it and they see what they want to see. It's a completely fictional location.
Wait till they come up and be like, there's a problem. One, that Friday, the 15th is only on this day.
Yeah.
And I looked up the weather on that day because it was raining.
It had to be this
It was raining on that day. So,
You know what? If they're that into it, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
I take it with a grain of salt because I'm they're reading, they're enjoying, and that's what this is all about. I'll never be a millionaire selling these books, or at least not.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But
or will he?
But what I do love is that people love to read. They love to lose themselves, and nowadays, what better place to be sometimes than to take an hour and be in an interesting book?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
To give your mind perspective, to relax your mind, and from your everyday worries. Reading opens up the whole world to you, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, whether it's a cozy mystery, or for those parents who are looking for children's books. Springfield Writers Guild's got it all out here.
Yeah.
And
just today we had Candy talked to us about inspirational Tess talked about her children's book and her romance, and now we're talking about suspense and mystery.
The
crime mystery.
The dead body guy.
Well, we should go down the row of authors and be like, how many deaths cumulatively do we have?
Yeah, there you go. Well,
just from the results.
Jen, right over here. You haven't talked to Jen yet. Do her next. She's got one book where 3 bodies drop in one small book. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, she
writes the cozy mysteries.
Well, today,
and they're based in the
I'm not
Ozarks.
going to come on today.
Oh, we'll get her over.
I know. I'm like,
she's
come
an
over
interesting
and talk about
person,
it. So.
yeah, and her books are interesting. But and then you got to get Scott Deaver right here. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met, computer-wise and all of that. So the books that Avril writes are always involve that technological aspect. And so if you're into, high technology and how crime can happen around computer apps and things like that wind up into murder, Scott's the guy for that.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, we're going to grab him, pull him over. If we can pull him away.
We'll pull him away. We'll get him over here. But look, Chris, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. We appreciate you coming on.
No, not a problem.
Scott Reed, or
David
Reed, we were talking about Scott. David Reed, author, is or David Reed, writer.
Writer page is on Facebook, or David C. Reed on Amazon is my author page, yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming and visiting with us today and joining us at the market.
Sure. Be sure to stop by and buy some books.
Agreed. Okay, so we're joined now still at the farmers market again. We're still, as you can see, at the farmers market, and we're joined now
editing, do you?
by Scott Deaver. Yeah, we will. So Scott Deaver's here with us today. He's our next author that we're going to have a little conversation with. So Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was a long-time software engineer, which generally make poor writers, but I come from a family of writers. And
I'm a mechanical engineer turned fantasy author. So.
Okay, yeah, that's why I think I relate to you when we spoke earlier. But so for me, I kind of struggle against people who have a perception of that when my actual background in history is more favors the writing side of it, because I do have an eclectic background, and I've done a little bit of everything before I got into computer software, which I did when I was like 28. So I have that long history of blue collar, largely labor, left home when I was 14, and Navy and all that stuff. Which has proven in my later years extremely valuable to tap into as not, because what basically transcends all that is the relationships between people. There was a wonderful book written by Studs Terkel called Working. And if you get a chance to see it, to read it, it's a very small, thin book. But it's just interviews with blue-collar people, in the work mindset of their, and it's just a wonderful expose of how people relate to one another as real people. So I have that come from that previous thing, and then I have the organizational stuff that came from software engineering, and ultimately came around to retirement. And wanted to return to writing. I have a cousin who's very well known, Jeffrey Deaver, who's written, and there's been some family competition. We had some friction over a book that I once wrote that he incorporated into one of his novels called Blue Nowhere, written in 2001, if you have to know. So I don't have a good relationship with him anymore. My choice, not his. But I do like the idea of writing, and I like both sides of it. I don't care for process so much, but I do like the organizational aspects of forming your thoughts, of having the random thoughts, and that process of winnowing out those things that you want to toss, deciding what's important, and even the conversations that you have with friends, family as you're evolving, other writers particularly. That's where the Springfield Writers Guild has been extremely helpful. Tim Strauss, I don't know if you've interviewed him or not, but he's become something of a mentor as I get into the more marketing. Now, having published 3 books, he's been extremely helpful in, not so much, he was in food advertising, but the concept, exactly. So the mechanics aren't
just
there.
Food for the brain.
Yeah, so he and I are hammering out approaches. I am very deep into data. I can get information on anything I want, and he knows how to apply it. So we've been working out some things. I think I spoke to you earlier about some software that I'm doing for our thrillers group to help people get their reviews. And that's proven very successful. Now I'm updating that to make it more palatable, more easier to use for people like yourself and other authors. That's the whole point. But in that process, I think it has also made me a better writer in the sense of I have a high percentage of dialogue, north of 40%, which is
throughout your writing.
Throughout the writing, I happen to write the Debra Ann Wynn series. Happens to be murder mysteries, and they're somewhere between cozies and the really gory stuff, which I don't do. I'm more into the intellectual, how it affects relationships, how it affects, and the
psychological thriller aspect, not quite cozy mystery, not quite kiss the girls.
And it's been,
somewhere in between there.
It's been a struggle to find a genre in the predefined ones that suits me, although individual readers that have found me seem to be really happy with the concept, and they find it challenging, which is very rewarding for me. I'm not particularly a social person, but I like people. I'm sort of, I think
Jeffrey Dahmer did too.
Yeah, you know what? But I just, I couldn't get into how rare I wanted. But that's another. I think you need to edit that part out, possibly, just for the sake of argument.
We go down the rabbit holes here. Like I said,
I can see that.
This is what I'm talking about. When our listeners know that, and Jared has commented many times that when it comes to derailment, whatever pops into my brain, I'm like, and derail. Boom.
So you understand the concept or precept of an airplane joke, right? Where you're sitting there with a buddy in a party conversation, in a crowded room or whatever, and you come across this blowhard who thinks of himself as intellectually superior, and you and your buddy have a conversation between yourselves in which he's included, in which everything goes over his head. So you're communicating with your buddy, and he's laughing his ass off. So you'll probably have to get that out too. But the guy in the middle, the subject with whom you're having the conversation, doesn't get any of it. And if you do podcasts and you get somebody in that situation, that's hilarious to see. I mean, on tape, you see somebody. And I think Rudy Giuliani, when Borat did, is a perfect example of that. Both the end result, but also the conversation that led up to it. You've got Borat sitting there trying to induce him to have see what he can do with this supposedly 14-year-old girl or whatever. And Giuliani's already assumed. I mean, if you read through the conversations, it's hilarious. So those kind of things are intriguing to me, and I find them, and they're difficult to write. I try to write them. I have a certain amount of humor in my stuff. But it's a little difficult when you're writing.
It's from a writing perspective. Yeah, it would be. It's difficult to put that in there. I mean, you could. I'm trying to think how you could do that from. If you have multiple characters and you're writing amongst the characters to be able to show somebody doesn't get it. And I think like you were like the perfect example, but like with that, a politician.
Yeah.
Where a politician, unless it's somebody who's just, one, they're very observant, but also they approach if you can find a politician like this that doesn't approach every conversation with an agenda.
Right.
Where they're literally just here for the conversation. So it doesn't matter where the conversation goes. Then you can pick up on clues and be like, oh, well, now we're talking about Jurassic Park, not about, the actual spending bill, whatever.
Sometimes you can find a politician who's been either defeated or has like sometimes some people have caught like Cuomo in a situation before he decided to resurrect his career, which failed in his run for mayor. But you can get a politician who's momentarily down and doesn't seem to have a great future in front of him. Sometimes they'll be honest and they'll be retrospective, and those can be really entertaining.
Well, then you get in that situation, and then you have someone come in like Borat,
right?
And they pick up on the joke, and they'll either be like, no, this is a joke, I'm not going to do that, or even better, they play into it on purpose, and then it becomes this lively, fun thing. But most of the time, the person is so agenda driven, and it doesn't. Politician is just an example, but you could pick a lot of people at random. Like the man on the street type interviews, people immediately start thinking, well, what is this about?
Right.
What's happening here? I better have this persona or this perspective, or present whatever. And it's like, if you didn't do that, you would pick up on the joke, and it would be a more fun experience.
Those are the most entertaining characters to write for me as an author. And Debra Ann has that. It's a little bit difficult to play into the expectation of the reader in the sense of having a strong, using tropes, just tapping into metaphors, trying to get a relationship with the reader based on things they already understand. You have to do that in order to establish your character. But in my case, I have one who is not what she appears necessarily. She happens to be an investigative journalist. She has a need to ask questions and listen. Mm-hmm. And if you have a dynamic personality, that can be very difficult, and she certainly does. To sit there and just listen to your subject tell their side of things without it being your role to interject your opinions or whatever. But she has to do that. However, in the context of a murder mystery in which she's involved, that goes away a little bit. Number one, she picks and chooses her subjects a little bit differently than she might when she was originally. She started out her employment for the San Diego Tribune, which is failed. They basically are a green sheet now. Mm-hmm. But they were once a reputable journalist newspaper there in San Diego. And she's in San Diego when she starts out. So the issue becomes for her moving from that assigned project to now she's freelance and she's picking and choosing her subjects, but life being the way it is, things are coming to her. When rather than go out trying to find a story, because she's become well known, the stories are coming to her. People are bringing her problems and stuff like that, which makes it a little bit easier to introduce other elements of her personality. To get into that thing that you were talking about where the gameplay where her agenda, which is fairly well established to the reader, and then this adversary who's very intelligent and also obviously has an agenda, and they get into that battle of wits trying to control how things flow. And because she's an investigative journalist, she has a very specific definition she has to get to, or she doesn't have a story.
Yeah.
So she's driven by that. But primarily, she's able to respond as someone who no longer has a boss. She's able to respond to events as they occur. So it makes it a little more interesting than it would in a typical, real, journalist's profession.
Now that's the character in these stories.
Debra Ann Wynn is the protagonist in what will eventually be a dozen stories in the series. There are currently 3 written. I'm in the middle of the 4th. Each one of the first 4 is a standalone, and they're in some ways entirely different stories.
Yeah.
The first, which is this one, the 6 Degrees of...
6 Degrees from Killing Brian.
Right, is the first book, and it establishes her relationships with the characters that then perpetuate through the series. But it's about the relationships. Her father passes, leaves her some money, which gives her the independence then to become an independent journalist.
Yeah.
She has some events that occur. Her coach, her old high school basketball coach, is killed in what appears to be a professional killing, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
He's a retired, basketball coach. Yeah, just a nice guy, nice old man. And so she gets drug into that mystery through kind of the back door of that happening. And the 6 Degrees comes from the fact that her father, when he was dying, would go out to the graveside of her mother every week religiously, and began finding these letters that were sealed in envelopes floating around their marker space. Mm-hmm. And so he decides to collect them because he wants to return them to the original sender, because obviously they were tucked in a gravestone somewhere and blew off.
They're just blowing away.
Yeah, so that's what he originally tries to do. But he's dying of cancer, and so he does he passes this task on to his daughter, just an innocent task, fine thing. And so she looks into letters. They're actually written in invisible ink, the way a child might. You can buy the markers online. They have a little ultraviolet light, and they see the marking or whatever. And she discovers that, and she gets to read. She's reading the letters just for the innocent purpose of trying to find who the owner or writer might be. And that takes her into the mystery, and finds out that this guy is actually a small-time burglar, an interesting, complicated guy, but he robs houses. He was in a house that he was robbing when the owners returned and to move a body. And so that's where the 6 Degrees comes in.
It's one thing builds on another, builds on another.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the concept of the theory of the 7 degrees of separation.
Exactly. If you took 6 degrees from Killing Brian, 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon, you see they line up perfectly. It's the same thing. It's the same
concept.
It's a play. It's a play on that.
This connects to this, connects to this, connects to this, and it takes you back to an unsolved murder or some mysterious thing, and now she's putting the pieces together.
Right. She's got all these disjoint events.
What are the 6 degrees to get back to the root
and then
of...
She connects them, and then that brings her to the nexus, to the middle of the wagon wheel, and she's able to figure out what's going on.
So that's the first book in the series. Does it carry through, like she makes it through the 6 degrees? And I mean, I don't want you to give away the ending or anything, but...
She does, and then her basic relationships with her friends and stuff that appear in this book then follow her in the series with eventually some bad things. But the next one is more international. The Hodin Cabal Choices is about somebody she runs into because she's asked by her private investigator friend to give cover via news and publicity to one of his clients that's at risk of being killed, he thinks. And it starts out as one of these tropes where...
And it's her investigative journalist background lends credence to that for him.
Her purpose in this one is just to write up the story so that this kid, this client of this private investigator, has some publicity, some cover, to where if somebody goes after him now, it becomes more difficult for them to do so, and it becomes more public for them to do so.
Yeah.
And that's where the Hodin Cabal, which is the title of the book, is essentially, a lot of people are familiar with the Bilderberg. I get confused because I changed the name a little bit in the book.
Yeah.
But there's a council of international leaders that's been around since the 40s. It used to be people sometimes, they might relate to the Rockefeller and Trilateral Commission, going back to Illuminati, going back in time and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But these organizations have always existed. The current one is Bilderberg Group, which back in the 60s through the 70s openly discussed, well, it was a secret organization, but it leaked out, depopulation.
Yeah.
The reason was MacArthur in the Korean War made the foolish mistake of chasing the Chinese across the Yalu River, and learned to his dismay that 2 million Chinese sitting there with pop guns is far more dangerous than your 100,000
It's a
people.
lot of pop guns.
That's a lot of pop guns. Yeah. So this international think tank openly discusses, because they have the other problem with India growing to similar proportions, and having the food issues, water sanitation, Ganges River, coming,
Yeah.
and all these things. So for different reasons, they support this idea of depopulation. In the midst of this, China cooks up their one-child policy, issue goes away for most of the members. Some, however, like the idea of depopulation. They have this idea back in 1750 during the period called the Enlightenment. Mankind was at its zenith, right? It was at apex. It was, the population at the time was 1 billion people. It was when all of the great works of art that we associate with the Enlightenment, including religious entitlement too. But that's what they see the idea of. So they want to get back to that, and they want to use depopulation to do it. And they have put this group together. It's unnamed, it's not public, but it's become among its members known as the Hodin Cabal. Admiral or Ambassador Hodin was a character in the original Star Trek series from the 60s, who invites James Kirk, because James Kirk is a carrier for a fatal disease to his people.
Yeah.
So invites him to the planet for the purpose of killing off his overpopulated planet. So that's where the name comes from and all that stuff.
So you've like going all the way back to these organizations, you pulled those together, and that's the foundation of, or
Right.
those motivations and the drives and some of the historical groups that
Right.
have existed. Those come together to make, in your book, the Hodin Cabal.
Yes, and the Hodin
Those
Cabal,
ideas fit together to.
and they're fronted conveniently, by a single individual who has risen through the ranks, who was an advertising exec, who has a dark history that is slowly revealed. He was once a serial killer in his own right, and was recruited for that very reason by the Hodin Cabal to represent a group within them that comes up with means for killing people and getting away with it. These are things that you see every day and on CNN. They're brought to you, but they pop up. There are 1 or 2 lines in your news feed. You read them, you're interested, they go away, other better things crop up. But they're every day. Every day something, right? Something's going to kill you. And so these are, it turns out, are being driven by the Hodin Cabal, and this guy is inventing these ways of doing things. So she basically, in the course of trying to protect this young man in this who is involved with this organization, she learns during the interviews. But anyway, so what happens is she becomes known to the Cabal, but the Cabal is not necessarily known to her or believed by her, because it falls into all these, can I say Trump? All these, well, let's say all these conspiracy theories that are out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to upset anybody, but there's a lot of them out there in the popular, 4chan, 8chan. You can, and one of them is depopulation, usually specific.
It doesn't take long to do on an internet search to find conspiracy
exactly.
theories
Thank you
for everything.
Build me out there. Appreciate that. So So she dismisses it originally to that. And then at the end of the book is written as 3 separate books. The first one has to do with her involvement with this young client and what she's learning through the interview
3
process.
separate books of, so that's Hodin Cabal Choices is book 1 of those.
No, it actually incorporates.
Okay, so
all 3 are included in the book.
Gotcha. Okay, so
The first book is
3-part.
Exactly.
A 3-part book.
It's a 3-act play, except I'm calling books. So the first book is about her taking on this client and learning slowly about this cabal that he works for, not necessarily taking it seriously. And it ends with her having, when she goes to, they visit all over the country to hide from this cabal, to have these interviews. And in one, Jeremy, the guy that she's the client, has a girlfriend who has this cute little dog, right?
Yeah.
Well, the book ends with that cute little dog being eviscerated on the hood of Debra Ann Wynn's car.
Are you giving away?
No.
Spoilers.
No, this is we're only a third way through the thing. That's this. But
so
I haven't told you how it got there, which is the fascinating aspect.
So what you're describing from a cabal perspective, like she starts first she dismisses it, then she starts investigating it. She finds out the reality of these things.
She begins to accept the reality.
Yeah, begins to. So, like, not from a direct comparison, but the Pelican Brief. If you've read the Pelican Brief, where it's.
I would say the Godfather and the horse head thing is for a different reason, but yeah. I mean, she's a what was she studying journalism, a student. Writes this hypothetical thing, just putting connections together, and then everything starts falling into place, and she gets thrust into, hey, here's the reality of this thing that you brushed off as a harebrained conspiracy, and you wrote it, put it all together as kind of an entertainment piece. And this is important to a journalist, because everything of a journalist is about validation and verification.
Yeah.
So the story about the dog is the ultimate validation, right?
Yeah.
She stumbled onto something.
She doesn't come across John Wick, right?
No, that's another story. But so the second book then is written from the point of view of this individual, Frank, who is the one-time serial killer. The prologue in the book, in all 3 books, the prologue begins with a scene from one of his killings. And he's just a guy who doesn't necessarily like people, even though he's in the advertising game. He doesn't like people who are polluting the world, classic, one of those. But he's very intelligent, and he gets promoted up this advertising chain, becomes noticed to the Hodin Cabal, who know all this. Nobody else does, but they know somehow. How you find out, I'm not going to reveal that, but they know all this, and they recruit him to be head of generating all these means of killing 7 billion people.
Yeah.
And he's been quite successful at it, because a lot of people don't realize this, but the population has been declining in the United States. Very little. It's at first stabilized, and part of that people attribute to COVID. But all across the world, Asian nations other than India Japan right now is a free fall. China overdid their one-child policy. It's trying to back out as quickly as possible.
And I mean, all kinds of different perspectives that people have on population stuff, but the reality is the rate, there is such a thing as replacement rate.
Yes.
And
exactly,
it's
and
declining worldwide. Yeah. So, like the book "Empty Planet" goes into that in detail, and how it used to be. The claim used to be the world's going to hit so many billions of people by the year 2100.
Yeah, 10 billion.
Yeah, it's going to hit 10, 11 billion. We're going to start seeing stuff collapse, and we're like, the reality is, so those are all old numbers based on projections that were just, here's a what if. But when you look at the actual rates and you take into account that as technology increases, you see it as society, as your, what is it? Gosh dang it, my brain just. Your.
I guess that's why I couldn't.
The quality of life. That's what.
Quality of life.
As quality of life increases or improves, and technology improves over time within a population, the birth rate in that population declines. You see it historically everywhere.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to touch on. I don't mean to interrupt you,
No.
but there's a couple of things you've hit on. They're very valid points, and they pertain to some things in the book. So if you don't mind,
No.
I don't like interrupting people, but I do it all the time. But one of the things that you touched on there, the quality of life, that's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
I would argue
The
that
modern,
yeah.
what we call modern life improvements.
I would argue that everything we have, and I'll just touch on this briefly, in the political scene is because our quality of life sucks for 49.2% of the population.
Yeah.
So as technology, yes, for the entitled, for the enabled, for the wealthy, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, it's more. We're starting to approach. I think you could argue we're getting to a point where it's Les Miserables in a funky way of looking at it.
Yeah.
The entitled, we're getting this gulf. And because the people on one side of the gulf don't have a voice, and don't have a direct voice when they do, and are divided up between neo-Nazis, Trump, or whatever it would be, but they are one thing in unity, dissatisfied.
Yeah.
And they're dissatisfied because, in part, they don't understand the technology. They feel threatened by AI. They feel threatened by all the forms they have to fill out, and when they go to a public office, they don't,
Yeah.
These are things. There is a reality here that needs to be addressed in our society in general. I won't stay too long on this, and it's this. In a classic bell curve well rendered, half the population are middle C and below.
Yeah.
Those people they're half the population, and they have to have a productive off-ramp somehow.
Yeah.
But we don't give a shit. I mean, we really don't. We talk about our kids going to Harvard. We talk about all the millions in dollars somebody makes. We talk about all the book sales certain authors make. And that's what we seem to care about. And mostly we care about money.
Yeah.
If you continue down that path and that section of the population that's being ignored and blown away continues to grow, they're going to do the one thing that they can do. And that's resort to physicality, resort to group involvement and stuff like that. And I'm not saying I'm not one of these, the sky's falling, chicken head things. But we are seeing signs of it if we just look.
Yeah.
If we have a tendency to categorize it as politics. In fact, the more intelligent of us and more reasonable of us tend to draw the dividing line there and say, for example, for this interview, it would be inappropriate to get into certain elements of politics because we're talking murder mysteries here, and that's not suitable.
Yeah.
And there's something people can't. So immediately you increase the silence, right, aspect for that half the group. Now they don't necessarily belong.
And so what you just said, that's a poignant statement that you have all these different mechanisms that drive divisiveness in. And it seems the intent is to increase that silence.
Yes.
And that, looping it back to, that ties into whether you're talking about like in the real world or in your book, the Hodin Cabal.
Right.
That is you could essentially say that is the ultimate mechanism by which,
and I'm going to revisit that as we talk.
Yeah, a cabal will function. It is through intimidation or divisiveness, increase the silence among anybody who may be a detractor.
Exactly.
At least in mass.
Yeah, and it's relatively short bridge. The silence contributes to the ignorance of the masses in one sense that they are going to remain several steps behind in not understanding how far ahead of them society and the entitled and all that stuff have driven things. So they really can't necessarily escape.
We're at the farmer's market.
Yeah. It delves into that a little bit here because one of the elements here that Debra Ann happens to be investigating on the side, and it relates, as you'll see when you read the book, is the disappearance of the homeless. And we get into all of that, the not having a voice. It happens to be in San Diego, in which they've devised policies whereby people caught sleeping in their own cars and stuff can be arrested and their cars towed, and it's just a horrific situation. It's made some of the national news, but so get into a little bit of that. But one of the things that happens in the third chapter of the book, he's on the East Coast, she's on the west of San Diego, but now he has run afoul of the Cabal. Because his agenda is slightly different, and the Cabal has changed theirs. They've now been taken over by the same political forces that have come here, and rather than going for a super race surviving, it takes into another trope, but surviving, in 100 years of the 1 billion left would be the purest and the best, and everything from naturalists, biologists, and some of the wealthy. But now it's going to be a haven for the rich and powerful, the oligarchs and their children and legacy. So he runs afoul of them. And they're after him now, and he there's a lot of I'm told, I wrote it, but I literally, readers tell me that middle sections where there's a lot of power expressed, and it's hard to express in this thing because A, you don't have time, B, it's room for another book in and of itself. But the short story for Frank is that he's Jewish. His father is extremely powerful ambassador, one time a Secretary of State, who is, and Frank discovers, is involved in the Hodin Cabal. And I'm not going to go into all that because it would reveal some things. But so basically, Frank goes to see if he can get some help in his fight with the Cabal from his father, with whom he's been dissociated for 30 years. It doesn't go well, so Frank sets him up to be killed. Frank then heads to San Diego to escape the Cabal. He sends a misdirection to Florida and then heads to San Diego. So that's where Debra Ann's and Frank's worlds collide.
That's where they collide.
And he gets arrested. The Cabal finds him in San Diego, sends a bunch of local gangbangers to kill him. Of course, he's ahead of them. But in the process of fending them off, in the aftermath, he gets arrested by the police. So that's where he's sent to a psychiatric hospital because he's out spewing all the stuff. I'm killing 7 billion people.
I feel like you're telling us too many elements from the, what's actually going to happen in the story.
But there's more. It's more deeply written than that, and I think you'd find that I'm not even scraping the surface. But I'm going to take your warning to heart. But I need to. So they come together, and Deborah gets involved.
I just don't want you to walk out of the theater and say he was dead the whole time.
No, no. This is not going to be that. This is going to be, This is going. There are several twists in this, and I've not revealed any of them. Really, I told you what topically on surface things appear to be.
Yeah.
But there are some undercurrents, and now in the third chapter, of course, they come to bear fruit.
Yeah.
And so I won't reveal a lot of that, except to tell you the premise of how they meet each other. Is that Frank is ordered by the court for evaluation whether he's fit to stand trial. Debra Ann is asked by her friend Dr. Luft, who is head of the private hospital that does these interviews under contract of the state, is a friend of Debra Ann's, and he needs cover because he happens to believe this crap this guy's telling him, and he's a little bit fearful.
Yeah.
So he wants Debra Ann's more neutral, and so she gets involved that way. And that's all I'm going to tell you, except one thing. We talked about how the uninformed are kept that way and how they become years ago.
I would say, so just to caveat that, I would say not just the uninformed, but even the informed through divisiveness. Again, the key
Cell
isn't
chambers, all this,
the key may not necessarily be keep people uninformed, as long as you keep people silent.
Well,
then it doesn't matter whether they're informed.
The Hodin Cabal has figured out that you can dump all this stuff as long as you do it on a Friday and you do it at a certain time. You can dump all this stuff out there and you can hide in plain sight
Yeah.
because people will go through the news cycle. It'll get their few moments of fame, and something else will come along that's more interesting, involves some, a woman with breasts, and which this stuff doesn't.
Yeah.
So they figured out they can release all this stuff out there. So it's not, I would say, not uninformed per se or ignorant necessarily. I would say unaware. People are not connecting the dots. They're not putting the things together, and they're not realizing that while there is not the driving force, may not be the driving force that the book projects, there is such a thing. If all these things have a profit motive to somebody, things are the way they are, and as I get older, I realize it's more true. I don't think there's a national conspiracy. I don't think there has to be. I think it's like this. If I happen to be a church-going member and have strong faith in a church here, somebody in Washington State can have the same faith. We are going to share certain understandings and perceptions, even though we've never met.
Yeah.
We'll never do business, stuff like that. Should we meet, we will have a fundamental basis for communication other people might not have.
Yeah.
So in that sense, there is, I guess, a conspiratorial base.
Well, the thing is, like, there wouldn't be, it's like I don't remember who said it. It was a comedian, and I don't remember exactly the context, but the statement was like, there wouldn't be, like, you couldn't be punished criminally for conspiracy if conspiracy didn't exist. And I'm like, the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe.
Very good.
I'm like, that's an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
But you get to the end of the movie and you're like, wait a minute, all of this, yes, they Hollywoodize things and the events that, of course, you write a historical fiction and stuff that you write is fiction. It's okay, it didn't happen. But you go and you can actually read the case files for the entire Chicago PD and the over 100 people that were criminally charged and the number of people that were involved in it who didn't want to be criminally charged and couldn't handle it, so they committed suicide. Like, all this stuff, you'd be like, well, that sounds like a big conspiracy theory. You're like, yeah, because it was a big conspiracy.
The reason I'm starting to look like a big dope here like this is because the one thing I will tell you about the ending, this is an appendix, and what it consists of is there's currently 80 links to news articles every one of you has read.
Yeah.
But you've never connected the dots, and they are in fact connected, right? Now, I don't know who I don't know what the driving force is behind the connection. I just can tell you that the same people that have a financial interest in removing the safe ingredients from a tube of toothpaste are the same people who will then add salt to Campbell's soup. And for the same reasons. And whether or not those people have ever met, whether or not they go to conferences and have this discussion how to make more money isn't the point. The point is that this common driving greed, not so much greed in itself is manifestly handleable. We've done it for years. Regulatory agencies, the civil suits you mentioned, those kind of things. But those have been neutered. Right? Those are no longer, first of all, you have to have a ton of money to get before a civil court.
Yeah.
Unless you're of some interest to some particular judge or somebody wants to take you pro bono. And we see that in some of the things that go on even in writing. And I don't want to be defaming the people that make us our money, but Amazon would be a good example of that. Amazon offers a number of alternatives for the, I'm going to say private writer for the moment, but for the unpublished writer, because it acts as a foil against the Big Five. We can't get published by the Big Five because we can't get past literary agents. Yeah. And if you happen to be old and white and male, you find yourself writing as a young Hispanic female.
So that was,
And
because you don't write as.
I don't write as Frederick Scott Deaver or F.
Yeah,
Scott Deaver.
you don't write as Scott Deaver. You write
as Avril Serene. And there's a reason for that. 92% of the literary agents that are published, there is a site you can go to that lists all of the directories, so you can apply to a literary agent and send form letters. But in my genre, for example, there are 138 of them. 1,141 of those are female. Now, this is not gender bashing. That's not where I'm going here.
Yeah.
What I am saying is that the primary drivers in fiction today are two extremes. You have the James Patterson formulaic, and again, I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying that's
with any, you can look at James Patterson. You can look at Stephen King.
Yeah, Jeffrey Deaver's my cousin. He's got 80 of these things out there, so I know it well. But there's a legitimate place for that, right? People like the comfort of mac and cheese, even though it may not be the best thing for you dietarily.
I love macaroni and cheese.
I do too. Then the other extreme then is Reacher, which is where you're just throwing stuff out there that placates a certain trope and a very specific, narrow thing. And because it's very understandable, very gropable, very all these other things, it becomes popular in its own right. But again, you know what you're getting. There is a vast middle territory that is not being served. It is in my case, I have stumbled upon a group, rather by accident, of intelligent, educated, professional women who themselves feel some kindred, some connection to Debra Ann Wynn, because she was locked into corporate America, still has some responsiveness to it, but because of her inheritance from her father, she's freed from some of that, and she's able to express not only her career goals and her task as far as investigative journal is concerned, but also her personality and what she thinks is right and wrong. And that group is available, and I stumbled on it by accident. You get involved with this group. Tim Strauss, we mentioned him earlier, wonderful. He's become quite a friend. I've only been here a year and a half, but a wonderful man. And he threw out an idea. He said, he read my books, and he said, I think what you need, I think you're in the wrong genre here. I think you need to be in more of the female thing. And I thought, well, okay, but why not try it? I tried it, boom. So there are a group of people out there that will go look at women detectives. So they may not be women per se, but they're finding me now where they couldn't find me in general mysteries, in the thrill or suspense, simply because I'm overwhelmed by this competition or whatever. And most of the men who are in particularly hardcore mysteries and stuff aren't interested in a female protagonist.
Yeah.
That's the realities. I'm not casting aspersions or judgment. I'm just saying, at some point in time, which is why I write as her, you have to accept the realities the way they are.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, and as I've said to other members of the group, and which I've sort of proven, if you go look at my sales numbers, I'm doing better than most unknown writers would be. There's a couple reasons for that, but one of them is that I'm willing to try and experiment with everything, but also I will adjust to the realities of the world around me.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge for most people. My first book was written with a typical white male protagonist. I abandoned it halfway through. Not because the plot wasn't any good, because I did incorporate parts of the plot, but because I understood that there's enough of that out there already. So that's been part of my growth as a person, to be part of being a software engineer. You have to do that. Computer, dumb, ignorant object sitting there is telling you, if I don't do everything the way it wants it done, it's not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of that is healthy. There's a certain amount that's not. But it is a means by which you learn that it's not a bad thing to start over.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And so this has been a journey doing that. And where I've where I've landed is a little
You got a little
caterpillar.
friend?
It just startled me. But where I landed with all this is in what for me ended up being a good place. It would be a different place for somebody else. There's
Yeah.
no way I would recommend, doing things the way I did them necessarily. But I do think there's value as a writer in constantly reassessing. I think I know what I've done in the past, and I've done 100 reviews. I wrote the software to help people do things, and I've been testing it. So in the space of a month and a half, I've written 100 reviews, all on Amazon, which have garnered me 80 reviews in return, which have immensely helped me. That's sort of off to the side.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that in doing all these reviews, there is a pattern I've noticed among unpublished writers, not necessarily speaking to our group per se, but among the Amazon writers that I'm reviewing, people tend to, because it's what motivates them, when they write their first book, they tend to be enamored of a particular thing, a particular statement they want to make, a particular phrase that they think is cool.
Yeah.
There are entire books written around that scene, where one of the Dirty Harry,
Make my day.
make my day things. I mean, there are entire, and there's a place for that. And when you're writing your first book, you have no idea where to take direction or advice. But those books would be more successful literarily, irrespective of sales, if people would, once they patted themselves on the back that they finished the book, because I think that's a compliment. I think that's something, a breakpoint we all need. But I think immediately after that, the first thing they got to do, throw the damn thing away. I know that's hard for people to hear, but I did. I did it. I threw half my first book.
Yeah.
You learn so much in that first process. And trying to recover because you're wedded to, I think most of the harm in the world is done from people who have something so much invested in something that they can't give it up. I think there's a lot of people who talk about politicians. I think there's a lot of political careers have been ruined for that reason. I think there's a lot of marriages that have ended for that reason. I think there's just a lot of things that life has this funny thing and not going the way you'd like it to.
Yeah.
And I think as a writer, I think you need to wrap yourself around that. I think, first of all, the writing of the first book is important because it builds your confidence. Once you have the confidence you can write this thing, honestly, you can write anything.
Yeah.
If you
Go find the next thing and dive
Once
into
you've completed
it and
one,
take your knowledge and apply it.
Right. It's the not completing of a thing that is your biggest barrier. Once you've done it once and know you can do it. So I'm very much a believer in those kinds of things. And then I also do believe, and I think it's particular to this neck of the woods, to use an overblown expression, I think we need to embrace the technology, and I'm trying to further that with my group. I think you and I had an earlier discussion about the fact that we have these tendencies not to embrace. I myself am thoroughly opposed to the use of AI in the actual writing. I am thoroughly a fan of using AI around everything else, the marketing, the editing, and also.
Oh, it's her. I'm like, I keep hearing beeping. It's her. She's pushing buttons over there. It's like, what is that?
Oh,
Sorry.
no, you had me.
No, that's a topic we haven't. We've talked about a little bit, but like that's a big topic to cover. Like there's all kinds of back and forth about how, when, and where to use AI, what's good, what's not, and there are some really strong opinions out there right now.
And there should be. I think what has to happen is just like I happen to use ChatGPT, and it has evolved rapidly to the point where the things that were not so true about it a month ago are now, and vice versa. And I'm not making a proponent of people find their own path. But I look at it as I would any friend, any flawed friend. So you were bringing up AI, which is a sticking point for some people, certainly an object of discussion and much. But I found a niche for me that I'm comfortable with. I treat it like I would, for the sake of argument, Tim, right? Tim is a marvelous human being with extreme expertise in advertising, and just a genuinely nice guy, very communicative, stuff like that. A real asset to me as a writer, as is the entirety of the Springfield Writers Guild. Although this Thrills group for me in particular has become a home. So I treat ChatGPT just as I do as one of them, not better, not worse. It is flawed. It can do some amazing things.
Yeah.
I think you need to understand why it exists, but I think you also need to treat it as you would a shield in battle. It is made of the same material as what your enemy is using against you as a writer. And I'm going to include Amazon. Again, I'm not trying to start trouble here, but Amazon is really not your friend. Amazon is selling the same keywords to everybody else. He who pays most gets to actually use it, and you're stuck. But irrespective of all that, they do provide a home, but they use AI they'll kick you off their platform if their AI bot thinks you've done something offensive, whether you have or not.
Yeah.
You have no argument for it, whatever. You need to engage AI at some level just to have a defensive posture to understand what's happening and to be able to fight back.
Yeah.
AI can react to AI.
Yeah. And it's, there's the world's moving in a certain direction, and just like you were saying about trying to get into the reality from a writing perspective.
Yeah.
Like, reality's reality.
But he's back. This time he didn't scare me, dude.
But it doesn't matter whether you like reality or not. It exists. So you can either accept it and plot your course according to reality, or ignore it to your peril.
And I think to that, one of the things that happens is all of us have our echo chambers, all of us have our means in which we retreat when we're under threat. And I don't think in that case, in that situation, all that's helpful. I think when you retreat into time-worn, older ways of handling things and dispense with all of the new because you find it threatening, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. And even though that is native human behavior, I think as a writer, you are challenged. You accepted this idea of going out there and creating something new in the world. What, you thought it was going to be easy? You have to take that as a responsibility and embrace it and realize that with that territory or a lot of things you didn't know, you can't just say, well, this part I didn't know worked in my favor, therefore it's acceptable. This part over here is less comfortable for me or doesn't give me the immediate returns, therefore I'm going to reject it. I don't think you can do that because tomorrow's coming. And tomorrow, it takes, if you did traditional publishing, it takes 1.5 years, 2 years to get published from the day you sign the contract. With Amazon, it takes a year to do the reviews, to build that first. We've kind of established, as Tim and I have been working on, we've established pretty much these watershed events. You got to get those first 10 reviews. Then you start pushing marketing, not before.
Yeah.
You don't want people coming to your thing, he's only, you're wasting your advertised dollars bringing to a display of your book, which only has 5 reviews.
Yeah.
Besides getting that peal of laughter that you hear off in the distance, nobody's going to take you seriously, and you just wasted an impression, right?
Yeah.
The first impression. If you get past 10, then start pushing a little bit. Then you'll start doing better. But your threshold points are 10, 100, and 500. Period. End of subject. I mean, once you hit 500, you're made. That's per book, not per. But once you hit 100, then you can start, experimenting and doing some stuff. But you've got to embrace everything you possibly. You sit there and you took the snide comments from your crazy kid brother. You took all this other crap as a writer. You took the editorial stuff you got the first time you see it is a tremendous disappointment for everybody. You took all that stuff. You weathered that storm. You got your book done, right? Why stop now?
Yeah.
You can't sit there and say,
why
okay,
go this far just to quit?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the people, guy sitting there gets to the middle of the river, I'm drowning. Well, dude, it's just the same distance to the other side as it was to going back to where you were.
Yeah.
But But that's, again, some human nature there. But we bought into this when we decided we wanted to write.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes it's like, wait a minute. Did I really?
No, yeah. I mean, you have the right to question whether or not you're sane. And if you choose to abandon in the middle and go do something else and abandon in the middle, and then you can do that too.
Yeah.
You know, people live in their mom's basements for a reason.
Yeah. Well, Scott, it's been we've gone
Thank
down
you.
some
Rabbit hole.
It's been a winding
Rabbit trail,
path
yes.
to
Said
where
rabbit
we're
trail
at
to get
now,
through the
but
door.
I've seen some people walk up and I want more people to stop and talk to you.
Oh, thank
and
you
get
for
your
that.
books.
And
So,
appreciate your time. It's been,
where can our listeners, where can they find you?
You can find me at avrilmserene.com. On the, I've got a web page that will tell you everything you need to know, take you wherever you want to go. There's some free stuff there.
Links to your books and everything, and directions and
It
everything.
leads to Amazon, the Amazon books. It's getting to the point where if you just typed in Avril Serene, even without the M, you'll pull up a stripper or two. But if you type in Avril M Serene, you'll pull up 3 or 4 pages. I've got that covered. So, that'd probably be as good as any. So, thank you for. Do we shake hands here, or do we? Does it matter?
Appreciate you being here.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll let you get back to the market.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good. Thank you, unseen person behind the camera.
Thanks for listening to the Creators Guild podcast. Don't forget to get your copy of A Flight from Shadows, available on Amazon. While you're there, please rate it and give it a review. If you like the Creators Guild, please like and subscribe, and make sure to share it with your friends. Until next time, go in good spirits.